and make your move. You're better off without my face in your view. Bright flame, but now it's burned out. It's fate, say it out loud. So late, I wanna head home now. You had me hanging from a tightrope. Cut the cord and watch me spiral. Go ahead and make your move. You're better off without my face in your view. So what's the point you came to? You shouldn't stay, though I'll be lost without you. Why won't you push me? I'm standing right on the edge. I'll make it easy. I said we have nothing left. No, you don't need me. Sorry, don't mean to offend. The sun is rising. This night has come to an end. You've got me walking on a tightrope. Seems like we'll be here for a while. You had me hanging from a tightrope. Cut the cord and watch me spiral. Go ahead and make your move. You're better off without my face in your view. So what's the point you came to? You shouldn't stay, though I'll be lost without you.
Hello guys, apologies for being late. I'm sure you can forgive me. Welcome to another installment of Touchline Talk with your boy LNobbins. How are we all doing this afternoon? In today's installment, we are going to be dissecting a little bit more the Leverkusen game because you know we don't tend to do post-mortems for league phase games. What we're going to do is, in case anyone's interested, we're going to do what we did last season where we do one big post-mortem after the final league phase game and we sort of have a conclusion summation of the league phase all in one big go. So we also didn't have a standalone stream for that. So we're going to touch on that today. I feel like that is apt to do so. I did see some of the press conference and there's one comment in particular which has troubled me. It's troubled me, and it's building upon, if you stayed to the end of the watch-along, there was another comment that Pep made, which was also a little, I described it as interesting. I suppose in hindsight it's a bit concerning, so we'll address all of those things and more from the game, and maybe go into a little bit of detail about what went so badly wrong against Leverkusen, how much of it does it matter, what can we learn from it long term, if anything, and touching on the Leeds game also, although there will be a standalone upload on the channel later today, so stay tuned for that, the tactical preview of City versus Leeds. So there's plenty to dissect in today's video, and this is a Touchline Talk, so as always we will go off on tangents, we will discuss whatever we bloody well want to discuss. Yes, that's what we'll do. I'm just going to pop an ultra message in the chat and pin it as a comment just in case people would like to directly support the channel. You're more than welcome to do so. The best way to do that if you are a live viewer is by becoming a member of the channel. If you want to support the channel and get something physical in return, I have a new merch store, LNobbins.com. Feel free to check that out at your leisure for some unique premium Nobbins designs. But how are we all doing this afternoon? Hello, Abanab. We've got Sam, Slobbins, comment creator, Naveen, true citizen, sub, Sam Jacob Cook. The Nobbot, big up to him. Thank you guys so much for joining me this afternoon. And we got TK, Victor, lovely stuff. Okay. Let's begin with the comments that I alluded to, and let's have a conversation about that first of all before we advance any further. Because on the thumbnail of this stream, there's a photo of Pep Guardiola, and he is saying, "We didn't try." I'm not going to misquote him. Let's find the exact statement that was made on Pep. That Pep made, sorry, about that. So this is Guardiola. "Not much disappointed about Newcastle, but the last one, i.e. by Leverkusen, yeah, for my decisions." So he's saying that he made a mistake about the lineup, for my decisions, and we didn't try. Simple as that. That is a concerning statement. We didn't try. I think there's a number of ways to interpret that. Because when you say that a player hasn't tried or a team hasn't tried, then that normally equates to like the team didn't care, or they weren't there mentally, or they just ultimately don't give a shit. That there was a problem with intensity, that there was a problem with effort levels. There are a number of ways to interpret that. I don't know, because only Pep knows what he really means by that. The way that I've interpreted it, though, is it's piggybacking off what he said after the match, which was he said something along the lines of, I remember saying it at the time in the watch-along, he said something along the lines of, "We weren't direct enough," and we were too, I'm paraphrasing here, "and we were too hesitant when we were in the final third." And I think that's what he means when he says, "We didn't try." I don't think that he's saying that the players didn't give a shit. I think he means more so that when our players got to the final third and when they had the opportunity to take on a man, or when they had the opportunity to be ambitious, when they had the opportunity to perhaps play a risky ball or some sort of equally risky action, they didn't try to do it. I think that's what he means by that. And in the first half especially, I think that was very, very blatant. We will have a chat about individual performances as well. And I'm not throwing, you guys know me, I don't like to try to throw individual players under the bus, and I always try to offer mitigating circumstances. But I feel like no player better personified that statement than Oscar Bob in that first half. And it pains me to say, because I'm still a big believer in Oscar Bob. This is his first proper season with City, so I'm still willing to be patient here. But the amount of times in that first half where he did have that opportunity to be aggressive, to be direct, considering that he had, I suppose, like Grimaldo as his opposite wing back, and he was never properly testing or challenging Leverkusen in the final third. And I'm happy to comment on it and critique that, because it's not something that's exclusive to the Leverkusen game either. Outside of, I'm going to say, the first 2 games of the season, where I thought he was great against Wolves, and I thought that he was our only good starter against Spurs as well. Outside of those performances, it's been pretty slim pickings for him regarding his aggression in the final third. I wonder how much of it, if indeed all of it, is down to his injury, his massive injury that he sustained last season, because he looked like he was going to have an insanely good season last year. He was unbelievable in pre-season. He was fantastic in the Community Shield. He was lined up to start against Chelsea, first game of the season, and then of course he broke his leg and he was out for essentially the entire season. And I wonder how much of that is playing a part in his seemingly, this is my interpretation of Pep's comments anyway, seemingly a lack of ambition to try in the final third. Perhaps I've interpreted that incorrectly, but that's the way I'm looking at it. I'll repeat, it's not just the Leverkusen game. It's nearly every single game that he's played where he'll get to the final third, but then he just takes too much time, and it's almost like he's reluctant or hesitant to engage in that final action outside of the first couple of games. I'm really hopeful that's just because it's perhaps like a lack of confidence in the short term. He's still a bit concerned about the injury that he picked up last year. He is still an inexperienced player at the top level. He's not actually that young anymore. I think he's 22 now. So he's still young, but he's not a child. Do you know what I mean? He's getting closer to that more, you'd expect more like around 22, 23 to 24, that range, to be a bit more assured of one's actions. And the fact that he got taken off at halftime as well has made me think that maybe that comment was especially directed towards how he's been playing, perhaps. Maybe that's unfair and harsh from me. I don't think it's a coincidence, though, that he said it after the game. And it's not just Bob, by the way. It's also Savio. It was also Reinders. It was also Marmouche. There are a number of culprits here that we need to talk about. But Bob, to me, was the one where that critique seemed to ring the truest, perhaps. And it's tricky for him because I still don't think that he's this actual right winger. I know he plays there for Norway. I know he's played there mainly for City. I still think that long term that's not his best position. I still think that he's more of a central player. The problem is that you ain't ever going to play centrally if you called Oscar Bob in November 2025, because look at all the players that we have in those areas of the pitch. It's not going to happen. So like Bob has to do like the Phil Foden grind that he did from like 2017 through to 2022-ish, where he's just playing all over the place but still putting in fantastic performances in order to then be trusted longer term in the centre. But that's seemingly not happening. So I do wonder what the future holds for him. I really hope he succeeds. He is still he's not young, but he is still young. He is still inexperienced. He is coming off an injury. I'm still hopeful and have faith that Bob can become that player, but it's pretty clear that he's short on confidence, and that's being exemplified in his actions in the final third, especially. Like, it's a pattern. It's every single time. It's get into the box, and it's okay, play the pass now, or do the final dribble now, or do the final shot now, and it just never comes, and then it's just like a nothing cross, or he just gets dispossessed, something like that. So I need more directness and aggression in his final third play. I believe that's what Pep was referring to when he said that we didn't try. I don't think that he was critiquing like the endeavour of the players, because there was a really good stat for a big up to Mark Stats, one of my favourite data accounts. If you aren't following him on Twitter, then you should be doing, or follow his bot at least, which is very good. His data showed that this was one of the best games for City, winning high turnovers. So I don't think the problem was like the players were not trying to press high or trying to engage. I don't think that's what he was talking about. I think it was more so he was concerned about the fact that when they got to the final third, okay, there wasn't really anything there. And that's a bit of an intangible, but there were so many bodies around, and there was lots of supporting runs for these players to hit, and sadly it didn't happen. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And what's the title of the stream? It's something like Redemption for Missed Opportunities, something like that. There were so many missed opportunities against Leverkusen, weren't there? I perhaps got too giddy when I saw the lineup, because I was like, oh, he's got faith in the squad. I predicted 7 changes, I think I predicted 7 changes, and maybe that would have been the more preferred thing, and like obviously hindsight's a thing. I'm sure Pep wanted to have faith in his squad. Perhaps there was just too many changes all at once. So maybe Nobbins' team was the superior one, yeah? And I should become the City manager. That's the conclusion we've reached. Okay, bye, guys. No. But you would still have liked to have seen, and we can question that decision, and I think it's correct to challenge that, question that. The commentator questioned it, and Pep he he was cheeky with his response, because I think he basically said, well, if we win, you aren't saying this. And I can sort of see where he's coming from, but at the same time, he has accepted that perhaps he shouldn't have made all of those changes all at once. That being said, it is very hard for players to just it was basically a totally different team, wasn't it? 10 changes. It's essentially an entirely different team. It is very hard to just almost like switch it on at that point. But I do still expect a bit more from those players who we know need minutes, and especially considering that we're playing against Leeds tomorrow. Tactical preview to come later today. That's a great opportunity for some of those players to have a decent to great game against Leverkusen, and then be a start, and then be in starting contention for Leeds. Because no disrespect to Leeds, but they are a relegation threatened side. They're third from bottom. They've won like one game out of their last 7, and I think they've won one away game this season, and it was against Wolves in the league anyway. Done about all competitions, so it's a pretty good opportunity to rotate some of the key players if those players put themselves in contention by playing well against Leverkusen. So that's what I mean by there were so many missed opportunities. Players who have even like come out via their national coach, like Ake. Koeman said that Ake's not happy with the amount of minutes he's getting, so he's not directly complained about it, but it's almost through the medium of his manager, he is complaining he's not getting enough minutes. Okay, then putting a great performance against Leverkusen, and then maybe you can start against Leeds. I don't think there's any world in which Ake can start against Leeds now, if I were in charge anyway. I thought he was abhorrent against Leverkusen. It was terrible. It was really bad. Sticking with the defence for a second before we even get into the attack. Aït-Nouri, who I felt made a couple of fun actions, like there was that one amazing challenge. There was that one amazing recovery run. I think it was against Poku. A brilliant recovery run, and then the challenge is unbelievable. There were a couple of nice moments in possession as well. I might be wrong here. I'm sure I am. When was the last time that Guardiola took off a defender at half-time that wasn't injured? I'm sure it's happened more recently than I can remember, but it seems like a very unusual thing for Pep to do. If anyone can remember the last time he did it, or if there's like an obvious one that I'm forgetting, but barring injuries, when was the last time Guardiola took off a defender at half-time? Because I can't remember. So if it has happened, then I have forgotten it. But the point I'm trying to make is, regardless, you've got... If that is correct, and if it hasn't happened in however long, then what did Pep make of that performance by Aït-Nouri? For him to conclude that, right, you are playing so badly, in my opinion, that I have to actually take you off and bring on O'Reilly. So I can't remember the last time it happened. I don't think it's happened this season. And so that's a pretty damning indictment of... the performance that he had in the first half, according to Pep. Wait, strawberries and cream Pepsi? Tell me more about that. I've not even heard of that. Strawberries and cream is one of my favourite donut flavours. I might have to look into that. Got sidetracked there. I'll come to the chat probably in a second, FYI. Apologies for not addressing it yet. So I'm basically looking at players where great opportunity for you to start, who realistically had the chance to take a moment there. Because some players didn't have a hope in hell of usurping a starting position against Leeds. It didn't matter how Trafford or Marmoush played. They ain't never usurping Donnarumma or Haaland, for example. It didn't really matter how well Rico Lewis was going to play. He's never usurping Lewis. Foden, against Leeds this weekend, surely. But there were a number of opportunities that for a number of players, I felt like perhaps Aït-Nouri could have been one of those players. Perhaps Ake could have been to maybe give Gvardiol a bit more of a rest. You know, perhaps Gusanov, perhaps Reinders, perhaps Savio, Bob, whatever. Not enough players took the opportunity, if indeed, I don't think anyone actually did take that opportunity. And it's basically all over the pitch, sadly. Sticking with Aït-Nouri for a second, because I want this now to talk about Savio for a brief moment here as well. I don't think Aït-Nouri understood what his relationship was with Savio either. I don't think he really got it. And I'm disappointed with how Aït-Nouri's been utilised this season. This is a wider point, but I guess the Leverkusen game echoes this also. When we signed Aït-Nouri, I was expecting us to see the one that we saw at Wolves, essentially. So the one who is, of course, happy to occasionally play centrally, but more advanced centrally. But primarily, you're going to be seeing a lot of offensive threats out wide, and he was going to be like a really fantastic left-sided outlet for City, whilst also being able to contribute centrally offensively. Basically, the way that he was used against Juventus. I don't think he's been used like that in any other game for City. None that I can remember anyway. Even when he's played centrally, it's always deeper rather than advanced. That's upsetting. I don't really get what the idea is there. He's never really been used like as an advanced midfielder, rotating with the left winger, like O'Reilly has been doing. Even against Leverkusen, it was deeper, far more reserved and conservative starting position. I sort of get that because Aït-Nouri is such a fantastic technician, so you want him to be in the deeper areas. I get that. But at the same time, he's so good going forwards. I feel like that's been a massive underutilisation of Aït-Nouri so far this season. Outside of a couple of Club World Cup games. I'm not sure why. I get it, he's been injured, but he started the first game of the season and he wasn't doing anything like that against Wolves. Like Doku was hung out to dry and just isolated totally on the left side because Aït-Nouri wasn't supporting him because he wasn't tasked with supporting him. That's just like a little gripe of mine. I don't like the utilisation of Aït-Nouri so far this season. And my original point was that I don't think that he has an understanding with Savio on that left side because Savio is a player who almost exclusively, seriously on the left side, always wants to be out on the touchline. He still wants support, but he doesn't want the support that Aït-Nouri is going to offer someone like Doku, let's say, or someone like Marmoush. I don't think that's a necessarily natural relationship with one another. Another reason why I don't like Savio out at left wing. I just think it's a waste. I think that whole team would have been better. That whole starting 11 would have been better if you had Bob centrally as the false 9, play Marmoush where you played Savio, allow Aït-Nouri to push up, and then have Savio in what I believe is his best position at right wing for the full 90 minutes. I think that would have been a better utilisation of the players on the pitch. Sadly, that isn't what's happened, which is a shame. One other thing to say before I go on to more individuals is, and I think this is perhaps indicative of how many changes there were and therefore how confused everyone seems to have been, not just fans but also the players. I've not rewatched the game, so perhaps on a rewatch I'd reach a different conclusion, because when I watch it for the first time, of course, I'm engaging with chat. I'm half watching it as a fan, I'm not purely just watching it for the purposes of analysing. So I will of course miss many things. That's why I always rewatch City games if I'm making an analysis video on it. I reached the conclusion in the stream that our out of possession shape was essentially a variation of the 4-4-2 diamond that we used against Liverpool and that we used against Newcastle. But I went on to Twitter after the game, and some people were saying that we're pressing in a 4-2-4. Some people were saying we were pressing in an entirely different way. And I think that the fact that there's so much, and I've never really seen so much, so many conflicting takes on what the actual shape was off ball. So I think that probably tells us even more that we as fans who can normally try to figure out what shape we're going for, we didn't really know what was going on, and I don't think the players knew what was going on either. That second goal, Savio is deeper than Nico, which is weird, very odd. Some people saying that Oscar Bob was in a double pivot with Nico. That's not what I saw personally, but again, I think that just points to the confusion that we saw. What I saw was we had Reinders and Marmoush leading the press, and we had Savio and Bob tucking in like Shirky and Doku did against Newcastle and Liverpool. That's what I thought I saw. And then, but because Nico was a bit more advanced, maybe that's what made it look like it was more of a double pivot with, you know, a Nico Bob or Nico Savio. It's very odd. Very odd. So the fact that the fans were so confused, the fact that I was so confused, and the players seemingly as well. Once again, there is no world in which Savio should be almost in like the right defensive midfield position and Nico in like an advanced midfield position where he's pressing. That's weird. That's weird. And I think it does point to players not understanding what the hell they were supposed to be doing. So it's this amalgamation of individual players not taking that opportunity, and these opportunities are at a premium as well. Like these players have seen the same starting 11 playing consecutive matches and play well for the most part against Bournemouth, Liverpool. I think there's another one, Newcastle, where we got a little bit unlucky there. So this was a great opportunity for lots of these guys. And of course, there's the massive mitigating circumstance of what were we doing? All this confusion that's happening. Of course, that's challenging. But it's just a shame that they couldn't take that opportunity. That's maybe the thing that I'm most disappointed with. It's quite frustrating. So, of course, a lot of that's on Pep. A lot of it's also on the individual players. I don't think that we can just... I don't think it's reasonable to void all blame for the players, because we still had a lot of opportunities to score a goal and we didn't score one. So, and of course we were so much better in the second half when the subs came on, but of course it was too little too late. Right, I've yapped there a lot, so let's get to the chat, shall we? And then we'll yap about it a little bit more, of course. So that strawberries and cream Pepsi Max is quite nice. I'll give it a go and I'll report back at some point. Yeah, make sure to leave a like on the video, guys. It is free. Kusanov right back, Savio left wing. We got to let go of these, says Yash. I personally agree. It's not Kusanov's fault that he's not going to contribute anything like going forwards there, but it's just almost like it's just a void spot in possession when he plays there. It's I don't really get it. Probably happened during the shit show last year, maybe. And shown anything attacking wise. I think it's because he's not been allowed to either, Jace. For me, that's the most upsetting thing. You're starting Marmoush against Leeds, says Yash. I don't hate that at all. I think some of those players will have to start against Leeds. He's surely not going to do another 10 changes thing. I mean, he could. I'd be very surprised if a couple didn't survive, though. You think Stones and Diaz are going to start against Leeds? I did feel Stones played okay. He was the one starter who I thought, okay, actually, like I think you've actually been all right today. Yeah, that in my head, Smyan, that's what it's going to be, but you know what I mean? I'm not expecting chemistry handle shit, but I'm expecting a bit more than what I saw, that's all. Probably don't get last year's injuries. Oh yeah, definitely. Is Doc arrested for the 490? No, he came on at half-time. He made what, 3 changes at halftime? Was it 4? He brought on Foden, Haaland, Doku, O'Reilly. Yes, so 4 changes at halftime, I think. Unless I'm mistaken. And he would have taken off O'Reilly, Bob, Marmoush, Lewis. Yeah, get the likes up, guys. I think there's lots of confusion. I need to watch it back. In my head, it was the 4-4-2 diamond with a slight variation, but it just looked really disjointed. So that's why there's so much confusion about the shape. And perhaps I'm confused and just dead wrong. But the players seemingly didn't know what they were doing either. Players didn't know what to do. Felt like the wings were instructed to press the wide centre backs and the full backs were taking the wing backs. I think it also didn't help that how narrow that shape is naturally. But we're up against a side who are playing with really wide wing backs when they're on ball, so they don't really care about that. So I don't think that helped either. We'll still slap Leeds 4-1. I hope so, Gavardio. I hope so. Pep didn't give them an opportunity to set them up to fail. I'm sure that's not the case. Culmination of shite forming a very big shite. Gonna go choke the chicken. I don't know what that means, Sam, but good luck, mate. He would be more effective off the left. Yeah, the problem with Marmoush is that you're never going to see the best version of Marmoush unless Haaland is on the pitch. So he's quite unfortunate in that sense. Stones pinging nice balls. I do think so, yes. Oh, sorry, yeah, you're right, yeah. Yeah, Haaland came on in, what, the 70th minute? Yeah, I got that wrong. Yeah, oh, I forgot about Shirky as well. Yeah, you guys are right. Misremembering Claire. I think I've hyped up Kusanov a bit too much. There's nothing wrong with hyping up Kusanov, but he's not a right back. It's fine to hype him up as a player who can sometimes fill in there in a pinch, but I only want him at right back if there's literally no other option there. Realistically, right? We know that centre back is his position, not right back. Don't think you can start. Oh, where's that Ignori comment just gone? Don't think you can start Ignori in a double overlapping fullback system unless you play a double pivot of Rodri and Nico. I don't know if I agree. Do you think we need another midfielder if Rodri's fitness doesn't improve? No, I'm chilling. I'm chilling for now. Maybe next season though, when Bernardo and Kova both leave. Arsenal are winning the quad. I don't think, well, no team's ever won the quad, so it'll be very tricky for them, Daniel. And if they do, you can only sit back and admire that fact. I'd be very surprised if they win the quadruple, to be honest with you. Savio's been massively scapegoated. I wasn't happy with Savio's performance by any means. Even though I keep saying that Savio's, in my opinion, best position is right wing, he's still a player who can play at left wing. So that's not an excuse to like play poorly at left wing, for example. I just want to let that be known. But I don't think he played particularly well against Leverkusen. But this idea that he was the reason why we lost is very odd. It is very odd because he wasn't even like the worst player on the pitch, and we've decided that he is the sole reason as to why we lost the game. I don't think that's fair by any means. And he did struggle, and there's that one moment where he slipped in like the 85th minute, and it was like it was just like, oh my god, like everything that could go wrong is going wrong for him in this game. But at the same time, I really don't think it's fair to put all the blame on him. I think that's harsh. And he could have done better for that chance that he had. And it wasn't the easiest chance. But it's a decent chance. I think it was a Stones ping, was it? And it is on the volley or half volley, whatever. It's not the easiest chance by any means, but perhaps he could have done slightly better with that. We touched on Nora in the first half. He was not getting any help from him at all. And I suppose that he also wasn't really getting any support from Kusanov at right back either when he moved over to right wing, I guess. Also, so it's not an idea. Like, this isn't trying to excuse the performance, but I don't like how it's just been decided that he's just shit, always has been shit, and we have to now get rid of him. I don't like that. He didn't take his opportunity. Sure, he could have played better. Of course, the situation didn't help. But I don't like I don't like what this fan base is doing to Savio, where he's like blocked his Instagram or something. I don't like that. It's clearly affecting him. And I think what's disappointing me the most, and maybe Savio won't come good, but what's disappointing me the most is look at what's happened to Doku now in his third season, a young winger in his third season, and now he's putting in fantastic performances nearly every single game. Foden, last season, so many people gave up on him, and he was clearly impacted by it mentally. Like he's touching it, saying that it was really such a sad interview that he gave this season, where he said something like, you see lots of comments online and they're basically all negative. That made me really sad, because that means that he's seen all the horror, and there were some horrible things said about him last season. So he's seen all that, and I know that these players are very rich and they earn a lot of money, and it's very hard to be sympathetic to people for earning a lot of money for playing football, but they are, at the end of the day, still people with feelings and emotions, and especially if they're young or they are going through a rough patch personally, what they don't need is this massive pile-on of, and also just spreading fake news of we should have accepted that 70 million offer, the offer which didn't even come in, by the way, and just concluding that he's shit and blah, 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 and you see all these like horrible comments about him, you see horrible Photoshop jobs of him to the point where he's had to turn off comments and all that. I don't like what this fan base is doing to our players. I don't like what they turn to when the going gets tough. I think that this is a player that you don't give up on after having a really good debut season. And yeah, he's not having a good second season. He's had a couple of great games. He's had a number of good games, and he has had too many lackluster games. There's no doubt about that. I think if you're going to criticise anything, I think that we have to be fair, and I think that we have to really be criticising the club for putting City into a situation where we've had properly elite players out wide at one point or another. Of course, we've had Sterling, Mahrez, Grealish, and when Grealish was playing well, also all at the club all at once. Oh no, there wasn't an overlap between that, was there? But still, you get what I mean. There are all those named Bernardo as well, even when like Foden's playing out there also. And the club went from that to having 3 out of our wide options being project players, essentially, like young/inexperienced players in Bob, Savio, Doku. It's not their fault. That's the club's fault for, I suppose, banking on all of those players. And it is a waiting game. It seemingly has worked out with Doku. This is Bob's first and this applies to Bob as well, by the way, and it applies to Doku from last season and the season prior. This is Bob's first proper season. And this is Savio's second season. These players are in their very early 20s. Again, Savio's 21. I'm still willing to be patient, and I'm still in the camp of we shouldn't be looking to abandon him now, and we shouldn't be looking to just sell him and bring in another winger in Jan or the summer. I don't think that's a fair conclusion, personally. So I don't like the backlash he's had on social media, and I'm going to keep defending him where I feel it's valid to do so. I think that people are going to have a very sad time if you are looking at Savio and expecting prime Mahrez numbers, for example. As an example, I think you're going to be upset if that's the case. That's not how I'm viewing him. In an ideal world, Savio would be the right winger that's second choice behind a far more senior, someone like Mahrez. I know he's not here right now, but it's an easy name to bring up. in an ideal world, we would still have Mahrez at like 31 years old, and we'd have Savio at 21 years old this season. And then you can more naturally, easily incorporate Savio into the side, and no one's complaining about it because he's not expected to be the head honcho and the big cheese at right wing. And unfortunately, I think that's the problem. And that is a fault of the club, by the way, for allowing this to foster. If you're going to sign a lot of these younger players, okay, but you're banking on you're banking on all of them like almost hitting the ground all at once, and we know that like progression isn't linear like that. Not everyone is fantastic from the age of like 17. Like that Bayern Munich player, Carl, that we were watching yesterday. Not everyone is that good at 17. And then like is a world-class player at 17 or you know, a fantastic player at 17, and then they continue that all the time. Some players are later bloomers. I think I've said it before. Mahrez is the example I always go to because Mahrez is a player who's always brought up to compare our current younger wingers. If this club signed Mahrez when he was 20 years old, everyone would be saying that he's a bum and sell him. Because when he was like even 22 years old, he was in Ligue 2. I don't think he played in the top flight until he was 23 or 24. So he was in the second division in France. I can't recall the team. I think it was Le Havre, perhaps. And then he was in the Championship with Leicester. And then he had one season in the Premier League where he was poor in terms of pure output anyway, because that's how people want to judge him. So I'm not saying that's going to happen with Savio. Maybe he'll be shit at 26 years old as well. Maybe he'll be shit at 26 as well. But I'm trying to offer some context in that not everyone can be Leroy Sané. Not everyone can be Sterling. Not everyone can be Yamal. Not everyone can be Carl. Not everyone can be Messi. Lots of players don't turn into the best version of themselves until they're beyond 23 years old. 23, 24, 25 is normally when you see these players start to properly pop off and you see what sort of player they are. And Savio is clearly not a player who is world class at 21. That's not necessarily a problem either. So that's a big, I don't know if that's a rant, but that's a big thought / brain dump on the Savio situation. I don't like there's nothing wrong with criticism that's fair. There's nothing wrong with expecting more from a player. He's clearly going through a bad patch. He's clearly going through, well, not clearly, but seemingly going through some sort of confidence crisis. The comments are affecting him online. I'm sure that's not going to help his performance whenever he plays next. I'm not willing to give up on him, is essentially the long and short of this. I'm not willing to give up on Savio. I think there's a fantastic player in there. I saw it last season. I've seen it at times this season as well. I still think it can happen with him. First things first, play him at right wing for God's sake, and then we'll take it from there. Let's have some consistency in one position, because he clearly doesn't understand the off-ball work that's being expected. Sorry, not the work. He understands the work that's been expected of him. He doesn't understand, I think, the role that's expected of him. Because you can't deny that Savio is a hard worker. I don't know what his pressing numbers are, but he's always running around. I think it's now just about narrowing that down, focusing it, and understanding the actual structure. And perhaps when we get to an actual decent off-ball structure, I'm sure that will help also. It can't help, though, for your young player going through a potential confidence crisis. You play 1 week left wing, 1 week right wing. Okay, today we're playing in a 4-3-3. Okay, today we're playing in a 4-1-4-1. Okay, now we're playing in a 4-4-2 diamond. But maybe it's also a 4-2-4. That can't help either. So, in sum, I'm not giving up on him. And that was a big brain dump. You guys don't have to agree. That's fine. You can give up on him if you want. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my faith is misplaced. And perhaps he will be sold in January and we'll bring in fucking Elise for 500 million quid and we'll all forget about him and we'll have a lovely time and we'll win the treble. Perhaps that will happen also. Or something in between. But right now, I don't want to give up on a young player. I don't want to do it. I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's right to do that. But that's my take. Hello, Ivan. How you doing, my mate? Doku and Gavardio haven't had contract extensions yet. What's Savio due to deserve one? It's because of his CFG origin. I don't know what the situation is with Doku and Yoshiko, to be honest with you. We don't know the wages, do we? So it may well have been that his first year he was on like a pittance, and now they wanted to offer him money which is more akin to like the senior squad. I obviously don't know the full wage situation. Exactly, Spartacus. It's different for everyone, isn't it? It is different for everyone. I agree that players' abuse being disgusting. Savvy didn't help himself by posting suitcase. Yeah, that was odd. I didn't really get that. But yeah, there are lots of people who read too much into that Spurs saga. He didn't actually want to go. We need our midfielders to start scoring goals. No, we do. You're absolutely right. We do. Thankfully, we do have the profiles who are good at scoring goals. Foden is good at, regardless of the finishes that he did against Newcastle, we know that Foden's good at scoring goals. I know that his finishing against Leverkusen and this season has not been particularly good, but we know that Reinders is good at scoring goals also. We need to see that, but definitely. We of course need these players. I'm sure that by the end of the season they will have a good number of goals also. Take on Reinders. He's still getting up to speed. There was a disappointing moment against Leverkusen where he just had to be stronger, and he got bullied off the ball far too easily. He does need to. I get that direct defensive actions aren't necessarily his game. Like direct duel winning isn't necessarily the strongest part of his game, but that is an area he does need to improve in. Personally, that's definitely an area he does need to improve in. The people are going too far the other way in Reinders though as well. People are also saying that he's been shit. People are saying that he's a waste, that he was like a mistake to buy as well. I don't really like that point. You get me? Don't really get that point. I don't know what that's based on. I don't know what Spartacus has been saying. It's meant how important this weekend is for the title race. Hello, Toby. Oh, look at me. I've got a competent football club. Shut up, Toby. No one likes you. How you doing, mate? I've just dropped... Oh, guys, speaking of what I just dropped, before I get back into the chat, I built... You'll know this if you were on the Twitch yesterday, because I showed it off. I built my new Lego set. It's Darth Maul's Sith Infiltrator, but it's a mod. So it's not how the Lego instructions do it, because this is a cleaner way to do it. But it's still using the same pieces. Doesn't look sick. And it's got... Well, these are the minifigs. It's got little Anakin. Yeah, it's in the Phantom Menace, little Anakin. It's got Qui-Gon Jinn with a sick poncho. Yeah, look at that. It's got an exclusive Saw Gerrera minifigure from Rogue One. Look at how sick he is. Look at his cape. And my favourite minifigure, Darth Maul. I've never had a Darth Maul minifigure, so this is pretty cool. Look at him. Look at him. I mean, it is true that Savio didn't want to leave. I can confirm that that is correct. And that there were other situations going on backstage. I can confirm that. Darth Maul. And I dropped Darth Maul. So yeah, look at that. I'm still waiting on Jabba's sail barge. That's still to come. Hopefully mid-December. That's a little present to myself. I don't know, because that's not true either. Yeah, that's not true. But people run with it. So, and it's not, and that's not even an online thing, by the way, because if it's just like an online thing, you're like, okay, whatever. I've heard people say that in the stadium as well. Like, people are heckling him. And that's a point. I can't remember the last time a City player got properly heckled when I've been at the Etihad. And I'm talking about, like, it doesn't matter what they do, every single action, like a fan or a couple of fans will have a go all the time. I don't think it's actually happened in all my years of going to the Etihad that I can remember on a consistent basis like this. But it is happening with Savio, and this person, or rather people, they keep saying stuff like, "Oh yeah, I'm so happy that we rejected 70 million for him," and all that stuff. That's not true. So it's even coming to like the actual match going situations as well, and it's this rumor that doesn't exist. It's very odd. It's very odd. What's my take on Kusanov? He's going to be a fantastic centre back for us. He's not a right back though. Can it fly? I mean, I'm sure it can hover for like a few seconds if you really chuck it, but I don't want to. I spent last night and this morning building it, so you know what I mean. There's no Jar Jar figure in my collection. Yeah. In hindsight, because at the time I was really happy with the signing, because I think he was he like one of the first that we actually had confirmed. I was like, okay, brilliant, lovely. And then we brought in Donnarumma, and I was like, oh, they don't really match up. Interesting. Yeah, you are right. You are correct. Yes, I do have the Sarlacc pit and the Desert Skiff. I'm waiting for it to match with my beautiful, beautiful Jabba Sail badge. How do you solve the HMSI situation? He needs to grow up, think for himself, or think with his brain rather than his dick and or heart, and just do what your club are asking you to do. Do what your actual parents' club are saying. Go on loan to Girona, because you're going to play all the time. And you actually get some experience. Rather than dicking around for Leverkusen, or what's going back to River Plate gonna do? Who is that benefiting apart from his own ego and his own sense of, I don't know, self? What's the point of going to River Plate? That does nothing. So he needs to, I think Mustish just said it there, get a different agent, think for yourself. Surround yourself with better people, because your camp is shit, mate. Clearly, your camp is shit. And if those are the people you're listening to, you've got the wrong support network around you. You've got bad friends, if these people are indeed your friends. You need to ditch them and get people who actually care about your better long-term interests, and listen to your fucking club, yeah? Who, low-key, probably know better. I'm sorry to play the appeal to authority fallacy card, but let's be honest, the club know better than you, Echeverry. So just do it. If he doesn't do that, then he doesn't have a future at this club. I'm pretty confident in saying. I'm pretty confident in saying. Awakasanov as a right back for Madrid. I'd rather just play Nunes because he's been having a great season. I found the Sterling stuff interesting about how he felt it was pressured into making the City move by his agent at the time. In fairness, that was actually a good move for him, so fair play. But goodness me. He does need to sack his agent, yeah. Agent seems shite. Tell us your row and seat number so I can nab your seat. Shut up, Kazoo. On the bright side, Shoki got a free kick on target and forced a save. Is that the bright side, Truski? Okay. What if we kissed at the Etihad? That'd be kind of cute. I've realised how good Nunes is. He's been good this season, hasn't it? Okay, maybe they're not to sack, but you don't have to bloody listen to them all the time, do you? Surely. And do that. Come on. If Echeverry was adamant on going to Girona, then he'd be at Girona right now, wouldn't he? You know what I mean? That'd be so weird. Like, Nobbins, hello. Oh dear. Yeah. So that's my Savio brain dump. Who else do I want to talk about in the context of the game? Because I do want to talk about the Leeds game that's coming up as well. The bright side is that even in a game where we weren't like good, we still created enough to score, which is a tiny silver lining, but it's so much. The reason why I'm talking about that is because if you think about our horrendous, because in relative terms, like this is so far, obviously, this is our worst Champions League performance, and I would expect it to be the worst of the entire campaign. This is going to be our worst performance. We're going to play our strongest 11 against Real Madrid. We're going to be at home against Galatasaray, and we're going to play a strong team there because it's the last game. And we're going away to Bodo Glimt to play a strong team there, and I expect us to win that game also. This is probably the lowest it's going to get for us in the Champions League as for performances. Even when the performance is at its worst, that's a prediction, we are still able to create enough chances to score. That's at least good. That Ake had a great chance to score. Reinders, great chance to score. Savio, Haaland also. At least that was the case. Rewinds to last season, we weren't even doing that. We were just doing nothing. We were shit defensively, and we were shit going forwards in those Champions League games far too often. So at least that is a big improvement, even with all those changes. So that's at least some progression and development there. So hopefully it can only get better from here. Anyone else I want to talk about individually? Rico Lewis, it's such a shame because Rico Lewis had a good game, but Foden exists and is an upgrade, so Foden was going to come on. It's a shame for Rico because he was playing really well, but Foden is Foden, and Foden improved us when he came on, so that is a thing. Who else to talk about? I think we've spoken about everyone else, haven't we? That I wanted to touch on anyway. Briefly touched on Reinders. Maybe we could go in a bit more detail, but I feel like I've spoken about Reinders a lot this season. No, once again, I think the positive is just that Shirky, Haaland, Foden, Doku came on, and to varying degrees, they improved City. So that was nice. Omar, Marmoush, yeah. Okay, let's talk about Marmoush. That'll be the last player we talk about then, I guess, because I think I've spoken about everything else I wanted to touch on. I do need more from Marmoush, generally speaking, because he's not a striker. We know he's not a striker, but he does still need to be able to fill in at striker to be the versatile forward that I believe he should be for City. He has to be able to do that. At the same time, he also needs to be supported. I can't remember him doing anything in that. I was going to say first half, but I might extend it to game. I don't know how much of that is his fault, because he was making a number of runs, but like no one was finding him. So he was trying to do that. I felt like there wasn't enough of a support network around him. The best version of Marmoush is going to be with Haaland on the pitch. I didn't like his utilisation in the front three. As I've said, I would have rather he played on the left and then Nori pushes up to support, and then you just commit to having a false nine at that point. But at the same time, Marmoush should still be able to do a job. That's a good point, Jace. I haven't really spoken about this. And it's another mental reason as to why the hell are you playing Savio at left wing. Savio's going to do one thing at left wing, and it's cross the ball. He's going to beat his man and cross. That's basically all he can do at left wing. You're basically getting Jesus Navas if you play Savio left wing. Essentially. That's probably a bit harsh, but that's like what he is. Why are we crossing the ball for tiny boys in the box? Why are we, or people who are just bad in the air? Marmoush isn't going to win it in the air. Rico Lewis isn't going to win it in the air. What do we think we're doing? that annoyed me in that first half also. And I know, I'm sorry, that's falling back on talking about Savio, but that was weird. That was weird as well. And that didn't benefit Marmoush. What's he going to do? Nothing with those crosses. Unless it's like a pinpoint perfect header, he's not going to beat their 3 centre-backs in the air, is he? Obviously not. He's getting crowded out. So that was just a waste. That first 45 minutes offensively was far too wasteful in potential. Why are we crossing it to Tiny Men? Yeah, exactly, Musty. Exactly. It didn't really make any sense. If you're going to play Savio at left wing, fine. I mean, not fine, but okay. Actually have a proper target for him. Actually have a proper target for him instead. Smart, because I've said that I said that before before a ball was kicked, and I agree with you. It would have made way more sense for that to be the case, but it wasn't. It wasn't to be. I don't really know what's happening with Marmoush. Especially because lots of people are saying that we should sign another wide player. I'm still not there yet, but some people are saying that. And if you do that, then I mean, like, what does that mean for Marmoush as a player? Where does he fit in? Let's say, I know that they aren't like-for-like players, but we're now being linked with Semenyo now. I don't know how valid that is, but let's say City signed Semenyo. What does that mean for Marmoush? Does he just go? Does he just get sold? Because Marmoush is a player who needs to be starting more than he has been doing. It's just tricky because he's not really been thriving when he's not in the position that he's best in, and Doku's in that position and he's not going to outplay him. So let's say we did bring in, as I say, Semenyo, who we are linked with. A player who can play on the right, is better on the left. But he can also play on the right, but he's a versatile forward. That then means that you have Savio. Sorry, that means you then have Doku, Semenyo for your chief left-wing options, you'd say, perhaps. You can even throw in Savio there if you really want to. And then on the right, you've got Semenyo, Cherki, Savio on the right. I don't know where Marmoush fits there, if at all. Because the other players, you look at Savio, Bob as well on the right. So you look at Bob. These are young players. They don't need to be starting all the time, so they don't have to immediately go. But that's not what Marmoush is. Like, Marmoush isn't a young player who can hang around. Like, he's more so in his mid-20s. Is he 26? Let me double check. He is 26. Is it weird that I know how old he is? Don't know. Well, he's 20, and he's going to be 27 in February, so he's an old 26. So he's going to be 27 in a few months' time. That's the age where you need to be, if you are of the correct level, starting relatively consistently. So I do wonder what happens. Even if you don't sign a player who's exactly the same profile-wise, where do they just play in the context of minutes? If you're signing a winger where you're expected them to be starting consistently, like you're signing a winger who's going to be a starter, let's say, then what does that mean for Marmoush? It means that I can't see anything other than he just gets shoved out. I don't know. And I don't want that because I'm a big fan of Marmoush. You guys know that. He's my boy. So it's a question that is fair to be addressed. And I will say that I'm a bit... I had my reservations about Marmoush in my analysis video. He performed better in his first half season than I thought he was going to do so. But I did have a number of reservations in the analysis video. He was one of the players where people told me about him, got very excited, and then I analysed him, and then my opinion of him declined. then my opinion of him increased when he actually played for City. But now he's in my head. He's now more so reverting back to what I thought he was going to be. And I did pose the question of, did pose the question of, I'm not 100% sure that he's definitely going to fit in here. So it doesn't help when you have like performances like this where he could be, or rather should be, doing well in a role that isn't necessarily his best. But I'm yapping a lot there. I've forgotten what I'm trying to say. I'll have to go back and watch my video, Miami Steve. Unfortunately, that video got copyrighted right at the start. So unfortunately, the first 5 to 10 seconds of that video is a blur. So I'm sure new viewers are like, what the fuck is going on here? And they probably click off immediately. So thank you, YouTube copyright system, for not picking that up until like a week after the upload. Really appreciate that, lads. That killed the video. So thank you for that. Love that from you. I'm going to have to go re-watch the My Marmouche video and see what were my conclusions. Because I don't think I was harsh, but I think I had a whole half set. I think half the video was dedicated to my concerns with the signing. So I wasn't, despite what people say about me. Oh, Nobbins, you're a happy clapper. I bet you were happy with the Calvin Phillips signing, etc. I'm pretty harsh in my analysis videos for the most part. And I was very harsh in the Marmouche one because I wasn't 100% sure where he was going to fit. I thought that we'd overcome that hurdle, but maybe not. Maybe I was too quick to bypass my earlier concerns. I don't know. Speaking of Marmouche, though, I would like to see. I'd like to see him start against Leeds. I would like to see him in the same team as Haaland, and either instead of Doku, or in a position that I need to see more of him in order to be convinced he can play there, off the right. I don't really mind which one. You should probably be playing Doku because you're playing Leeds, who are a low block side. I want Marmouche to start, because I want Marmouche to be playing with Haaland. Because we're going to see a better version of Marmouche when that's the case. That's what I want. That's what I want this weekend. Who do you guys want to see this weekend, though? Let me know. Let me know what you think. Semenya's brilliant, but he's been brilliant for one season. We need to calm down to Spartacus. Pep made changes. They're all top players and some didn't do enough. I think that's a fair summation, Adrian. That is something that I did touch on. I did see that was something I disagreed with as well. Like some City fans who analysed him said that he's got a really nice first touch. I was like, I don't think I agree. It's quite heavy. Do you think it's my harshest one, Musty? I can't remember what I said. Exactly. I remember having a whole half of the video was dedicated to like properly criticizing him, just as a player as well. Not even like, I don't even like how he'd fit into the system. I think I touched on how his finishing was a little bit one-dimensional. But then I had the caveat of, if he's always scoring, does it matter if it's one-dimensional? I'll revisit it. Echeverri was the harshest. I think that had... that's probably right. I think that had to be the harshest because people getting the wrong end of the stick. So the starting point was so high for... And that's not his fault. But the perception of him was so high that I had to try to bring it down to reality, if that makes sense. So maybe that's why it came across as like trying to criticize him more so. But I wasn't going to do a video at all, probably, but I sort of had to. Exactly, Musty, yeah. I sort of had to. I disagree that the Donnarumma one was harsh, to be honest with you. I don't think there's anything I said in that video that was harsh. I think everything I said in that, in my opinion, is my best analysis video. And I don't think there's anything I said in there, and this is going to sound incredibly arrogant, I don't think there's anything I said in there that was wrong. I think everything I said in that video, we've actually seen. So I'm really happy with that video. I don't think that's harsh. Maybe the Echeverri one was a bit overboard, but I don't know. I thought we were going to have a thing. Thank you so much, Hoshim Void Hunter, for the super chat. Here's 0.0000001% of Savio's fee to Spurs. Thank you, mate. it doesn't have to be wrong for it to be harsh. That's fair. Maybe it was harsh but fair. Okay, maybe we can say it was harsh but fair. Yeah, maybe you're right. You guys are right. Here's a random movie quote for Hoshim Void Hunter. Snap out of it. That's from a film called Moonstruck from 1987. I ain't never heard of that. But there you go. That's your random movie quotes. Yeah, maybe you guys are right. Maybe I was harsh against Honorama, but I do think it was fair because it was all, again, it sounds very arrogant, but it was all correct. It was all correct. I'm a doom and gloom. That's what I mean. Sometimes I'm a happy clapper, sometimes I'm a doom and gloomer. Maybe I'm just me. Maybe I'm just quite balanced. If one camp says I'm one or the other camp says I'm other, maybe I'm just balanced. Honest slot regen is crazy. Ake did not have a good game, I'm afraid. Unfortunately, Ake did no favours for himself because especially if he's a player who's like, I want to be playing more, okay, that's fine, but then you can't put in a performance like that. You just can't. The people saying that are mental. Yeah, that's the thing. Marmouche is not an attacking midfielder. That's the thing. This is why it was always so funny to me when people were... And it's so hilarious because it shows what people just ultimately don't know. When we signed Marmouche, and indeed even in the summer, the comparison was Marmouche and Foden for some people, which was very odd. Because you're comparing a player who should be a versatile forward, a player who is an inside forward, a player who does not have a particularly good first touch, a player who's fantastic at bouncing off strikers, to a midfielder who is good at scoring goals. People see I reckon these people would have thought that Frank Lampard was a second striker. I guarantee that those people think the same thing. It did sort of out a few people. Well, first of all, that tells me you don't know enough about Marmouche because he's not a number 10. He's not got the first touch to play there. And if the competition is with anyone, it's going to be with Doku. It ain't going to be with Foden. They're two very different things here. Chill. I am indeed bald. Love that from you, Kazoo. Maybe they have been harsh, but I think they've all been fair. I don't think I've like disagreed with it. The only one that maybe, but even then, I was going to say like the Nico one. I framed it sort of as this is going to be the Gundogan replacement. Now, ultimately, that was wrong to do because we then ended up signing Reinders. But at the time, I didn't know we were going to sign Reinders, obviously. So I think at the time that was a fair thing to say. And I did say this is the most important signing of the season, transfer window. And I stick with that because given these performances, he might be the Rodri replacement ultimately. So, yeah, who knows? When Rodri comes back, maybe we will see Nico played more like there, but obviously I wasn't anticipating us to sign Reinders. Next, you missed it yesterday, Ram. Your player, by the way, so good. He's one of our best players. We are Tuesday. Tuesday will be the next Twitch stream, but that's going to be against Fulham, Watchalong, so Wednesday, therefore, unless it's a good Premier League game. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings. No, people say that as well, and that annoys me. Yeah, he's not especially good. The only time he's good in tight spaces is when he's doing that momentum dribbling that I thought, the term I thought I coined, but then you guys corrected me and turns out it's in fucking FIFA or something. So that was upsetting. I thought I actually came up with a great term there. They're not comparable at all, Kazoo, but loads of people are doing it. Loads of people are doing it because they have these weird agendas in their brain and they just don't know what they're talking about. Thank you, Yizan. I don't tend to do post-match analysis videos for these league phase games, or indeed just the cup games generally, unless it's a big game. So when we get to the knockouts, then we will definitely be doing them. Like when we get to late stage FA Cup and League Cup, I'm sure we can do them as well. But there won't be one. That's sort of what this video was for. I don't tend to do them for the league phase games, just because they are only a league phase game. Bring back the Unk-Winkers. Lampard did much better than Rooney, aka Shrek. Lampard scored from midfield. You're not wrong, Tahiti treat. I did like Lampard a lot. An unbelievable box crasher. Getting O'Reilly on my shirt after his passion was the silver lining on Tuesday. Love that from you, mate. These are the people who just want to throw players under the bus before they've even had a chance to do anything. That's the problem. That is the problem. I'll always give a player time. I'll always try to be fair and reasonable. Is the Fulham game on TNT? I do not know. Let's see. FootMob normally says what channel it's on. It is on TV. It is on Sky. It's on Sky. 7:30 kickoff, guys. If anyone's interested for the Fulham game. That's not this Saturday. That's Leeds. Fulham is on the Tuesday. We'll, of course, be doing a watch-along for Fulham. There won't be a watch-along for Leeds because I'll be at the Etihad. There will be a post-mortem for Leeds because I'll come back. And there will be a tactical preview uploading later today. Do you think Elise in the summer is possible or realistic? Nope. To be honest with you, nope. I think that Elise to City is about as realistic as Haaland is to Real Madrid or Barcelona. I think that... I don't think either are realistic. I don't think there's been anything that's come out on the players' camp side. I don't think there's anything concrete from the club side either. I don't think there's been any indication that he wants to leave Bayern Munich. With respect to City as a club, obviously you guys know I love City. Bayern are a stronger, better, bigger club than us. It's not like we're dealing... And no disrespect to Dortmund. It's not like we're dealing with Dortmund here. It's Bayern Munich, and he's only been there a couple of seasons. So I'd be staggered if there's any truth in... I was going to say the rumour, but there's not even a rumour, is there? It's just fan hope. It's not going to happen, in my opinion. Certainly not this summer. Unless, like, something mad happens and there's, like, mad upheaval in the dressing room. I don't know. Scholes, he was very good. Off, like, the whole Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard's debate, my favourite was always Scholes as the player. But you guys know that's because I prefer midfielders, like... Because even though I accepted that Kevin De Bruyne was a better player than David Silva, I prefer David Silva. I prefer these more... In the same way that I preferred Xavi to Iniesta. I like the concept of him. I haven't done an analysis yet. It's just Hopium Fest. Thank you, Godfrey, for the super chat. Lack of physicality, energy midfield is killing us. What do you think of our lethargic press? I don't agree that it's to do with a lack of physicality, to be honest with you. I don't think that's the reason why we're struggling in the press. I think it's more to do with structure. Like against Newcastle, I saw lots of people saying that the reason why we lost the midfield battle was because our midfield couldn't match up physically to theirs. Very rarely did I ever see a midfield physical battle between ours and theirs. Unless we gave away a sloppy pass, and then, okay, it did lead to one. But the solution wasn't to be stronger. The solution was to not give away the ball in the first place. I actually think the reason we lost that midfield battle was because we kept losing the ball. And our touch was ineffective. I do agree the press has been bad. I don't think that's due to a lack of energy or a lack of effort. Take Foden, for example. He's like one of the leading players in all of Europe for running and sprinting this season. So I don't think it's to do with being tired or that sort of thing. I think it's to do with structure more so than anything else, personally. I don't agree it's anything to do with physicality. If City aren't in contention for major honours this season, we should be looking at Pep's future. We have no divine right to win anything. We have every right to expect contention. Yes, I would like to contest for stuff. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just going to totally disagree with the physicality situation. Because if the touch is cleaner, then you don't have to resort to that physical battle, to be honest. So I don't agree with my watching and then my subsequent rewatch of that match. We're going to be live for like another 10 minutes. Make sure to leave a like on the video because it's free. Yeah? If you do want to go the extra mile and do something that isn't free, you can do one of two things. You can become a YouTube member by clicking that link there. Or if you want an ad-free viewing experience and exclusive videos, then you can sign up to the Patreon as well. Big up to Isaac, who's the most recent supporter of the Patreon. The link is there if you guys are interested. and this is what I mean, because Bournemouth's midfield was far more physical than ours, and Liverpool's midfield was far more physical than ours. Didn't matter; they couldn't get close to us. That's because our touch was clean and excellent. So I'm personally pushing back on that as a concept. What do we want for Leeds, though, ladies and gentlemen? We're not going to do a full run through of that match because I do want to do it in my preview properly. But what players do we want to see? We want to win, brilliant. Yeah, sure, but like more specifically, like what particular shape do we want to see? What is there a particular off-ball or on-ball structure you want to see? Is there a certain player that you want to see? We can take some players as read. Like, we know Donnarumma's going to start. We know Haaland's going to start. We know that Foden's almost definitely going to start. But, like, are there any players from the Leverkusen game that you want to see given another chance? Let me know as I'm just searching up Leeds United's hex colours because I want to get this blue. There is the blue. Or should we get the gold? Blue and gold, blue and gold, blue and gold. Yeah, there we go. That's good. That's good for Leeds. Leeds are normally very good when they come to the Etihad as well, in my experience. So expect it to be quite a good atmosphere coming from the away fans anyway. I can basically guarantee that Leeds, whenever I know they get a lot of shit, Leeds fans. All I can do is base it off my experience. Whenever they come to the Etihad, they're always incredibly loud, even when they got battered. So, big up to their fans. And once again, I know that maybe they don't turn up for the smaller games, but certainly the Etihad, they do. Yeah, I think even when they were 5, 6, 7 goals down, or whatever that game was, they were still singing until like the end, so big up to them. Big up to them, in fairness. Give me a midfield of Lee Catamores. Shut up. You want a 4-4-2? 1-4-4-2, out of possession. Oh, don't we all, mate? Don't we all? Marmoush Haaland front two. Marmoush Savia, maybe Ait-Nouri. I wouldn't be against, like, starting a couple of the players who underperformed against Leverkusen, just to almost, like, give them another chance and go, okay, you've had a dressing down. Now, come on. Yeah, I will say that I've barely watched any Leeds. Like I've since I think I watched none as of a few days ago. I've now watched a little bit in preparation for the tactical preview, of course. As I understand it, big up to John McKenzie. They started the season actually trying to play out from the back and try to play good football, and now they've just sort of sorry, the other way round. They started the season by leaning into just winning second balls and being physical and hoofing it. And now they've tried to play a structure, or rather play a style, that they cannot do. Yeah, I got it the wrong way round, didn't I? So, hey, if they play like that against us, that would be cute. I don't expect that to happen, of course, because it's at the Etihad, so maybe they will revert back to the ways that got them actual results, because they are at the Etihad. But we'll see, won't we? Hopefully it's going to be hopefully they do try to play like that. Haaland's dream team. Is Leeds the only team he's not scored against? Is that right? He's never played them though, has he? Is that right? Who are the other newly promoted sides? I've forgotten. Burnley. He's already scored against Burnley. Who is the other side? Oh, Sunderland. He hasn't scored against Sunderland. Has he scored against Leeds? 22-23 he has, okay. So is Sunderland the only team he's not scored against in the Premier League? Is that right? Is it just Sunderland then? Darth Maul. Luton. Oh, fuck off. Bloody Luton. But did he play against Luton? He definitely missed the game at their ground. I remember that because Alvarez started that day. Wait, he's never scored against Bournemouth? That can't be right, can it? Surely not. Surely not. What's going on? Exactly, Toby. Yes, and that's an odd one. That's an odd one. I want 10 changes in the team, says Phoenix. Yeah, I thought there's no way. Surely he scored against Bournemouth. Surely he has. That can't be right. He scored so many. I forget how many he scored. So is it so it's only Sunderland he hasn't scored against who's like played against then? No, he hasn't played against them yet, but he will play against them this season. Well, hopefully he does that. Because I know Aguero scored against every single Premier League side he played against, apart from Bolton, and he didn't even get a full 90 against them. Because like one game he was injured, and the other one he came on at like half time or something. Bloody Bolton, and they got relegated in 2012 as well. So, god damn it, Bolton, you ruined Aguero's beautiful record. Yeah, he scored at Anfield for wait, was it Leipzig he played for? Salzburg. That's the one. I'm pretty sure he scored against everyone apart from Bolton. I'm pretty sure. Maybe that's a dead stat by me. I'm sure that's right. I'm sure that's correct. My brain's confused. Sorry, what were we talking about? We were talking about Leeds. Yes. I haven't decided what I want City to do yet. Of course, like we know that some players are going to come back into the side. I would love it if Marmoush kept his place. It's just so hard to not start Doku because this is like the best game for him to start. Because it's going to be low, I'd assume it's going to be low block FC. Rodri's confirmed as still not being fit, unfortunately, so Nico's going to be starting again. It seems very hard to justify not starting Doku. But in which case, the only way I can fit Marmoush in is by playing him at right wing. And that means not playing Shirky either. Another player who you would want for low blocks. It's hard, isn't it? Which two do you play out of the three? Marmoush, Shirky, Doku. Opposition would lend itself to Doku and Shirky starting. That's what it would suggest. But is this a game where you start Marmoush and try to get him some goals and give him like that confidence boost? I don't know. Musty only wants Marmoush. I don't know what your lineup was, Musty. Sorry, I've missed it. Can you pop it in again? Or do I need to scroll up? Is it here? Is it soon? I can't see it, Musty. It was too far ago. Can you send it again? Here we go. Don, O'Reilly, Yoshko, Ruben Nunes, Nico Foden, Tijani, Marmoush, Savio as well. I wouldn't be against doing that because this is a game that I'm not underestimating them, but Leeds are shit. They are third from bottom. They've won one game out of the last 7. This is a game that we have to win, and we have to win well. I agree with that, Pedro, yes. So could City try to use this as a game to stat pad some players and get their confidence levels up? Because because Marmoush hasn't scored a Premier League goal yet. He scored 1 goal against Swansea, was it, in the Cup. He's not scored outside of that, I'm pretty sure. And he's a goal scorer. We need to be getting him on the score sheets. And it would be great if like Savio could also do that just to get that monkey off his back also. I know he scored this season, but not in the league. That'd be great to get that monkey off his back. So I do wonder if you retain some of those players and give them one more chance and go, okay, we made too many changes against Leverkusen. That was arguably my error. But now I'm going to put you into a more settled squad. Now prove it. So perhaps, maybe I'd be tempted to do what Musty suggested if my first thought is try to make it as a confidence situation. And then if you need to break that low block in like the half time or 60th minute, then you can bring on Doku and Shirky as game changers against a low block. And maybe that's a thing. Maybe that is a thing. I don't know. Maybe that's a thing. I'm unsure. We better have a new second top scorer after this weekend's True Citizen. I'm sure we will. Shirky will be a good pairing for Marmouche. Just means you can't play Doku then. That's the issue. So I'd probably be tempted to... Based on that, I don't know how we'd set up on ball, though. I don't think we need to fanny around with like having only a front five. We can probably get away with having a front six. So we can probably maybe go back to a 3-1-6 for this one. I don't know how Leeds play out of possession necessarily as well as I should. So that's something I'm going to research also. I don't think they're a particularly intense pressing side. If anyone does know that, let me know. In which case, we don't need to commit too many bodies deep. And we can commit way more bodies forwards. So I'd probably be tempted to a 3-1-6 off ball. We have a Prem game midweek since Leeds is the easier game. Both are must-wins. If you are going to rotate, it would make sense to do it in this game, says Pedro. Indeed. Toby, chill. The own goals will increase in tomorrow's game. I hope so, mate. I hope so. I was going to read out your comment. You did a good comment earlier about people not understanding certain players' positions, and I agree with you, by the way. I do agree. Interesting. Yeah, because we do play Saturday, and then Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday. So there's only a few days rest. But we have seen the same starting 11 play in consecutive games a lot. A lot. And then who do we play after that? Home against Sunderland. That's not going to be easy. Oh, and then Real Madrid. So many hard games coming up. Oh, no, never mind. It's Fulham after Leeds. Yeah, that's on the Tuesday. Yeah, my brain. And that's going to be that's probably going to be the hardest of the three. That's probably going to be the hardest of the three. We should be winning tomorrow by a fair wodge of goals, I would suggest. I think we need to go... Because that's a must-win as well, by the way. I mean, all of them must-wins are all those three Premier League games. Leeds, Fulham, and Sunderland. So not too much rotation from our strongest side, but I think that we have to accept some. I think we do have to accept some, so I might be tempted to start Savio and Marmouche based on that. I don't think this is a game for, like, Bernardo to start necessarily. I don't think he should... If he has to start against Leeds, then that's a concern, because we shouldn't have to be relying on him right now. So I'd be tempted to maybe go to the... I liked Musty's team, in fairness. I might just copy that. I might be tempted to go back to that midfield of Nico, Foden, Reinders, have that front three I've said, and then just go back to the back four that we know works. Which is Nunes, which involves Nunes and O'Reilly. I'm not sure, though. I'll have to think about that. I'm definitely not going to credit you, Musty. You're going to have to hold that, I'm afraid. Where's the Marmouche right-wing hype come from, says Sarthak? I haven't yet seen it in the City shirt. Willing to wait and see, but as of yet, we haven't yet seen it. I was talking about Foden. I was talking about Foden versus Pedro, very similar players. People will never understand because Foden gets goals. This season, he's been playing that more of a role, definitely. He's very important, yes, and definitely not going to credit you. We should be playing our full starting 11. We have to have learnt our lesson. I don't want to see Savio near the starting 11. The only problem with that is we've got a harder game against Fulham only on the Tuesday. So are you going to play a team, an exact same starting 11 on a Saturday and then a Tuesday with only 2 days in between? I don't know if that's ideal. And then there's another game on the Saturday, so it's not easy. It's not easy. In terms of role, Toby, yeah, they've had a very similar role this season. Not talking about quality, Toby. Also, not leagues. Chill. We're talking about the role of the player. Chill. Big call on to shatter the records. Hashtag capitalism, innit? Haaland delaying that 100-goal Premier League record. Must score tomorrow, indeed. From a decent form right now. That's why I'm a bit confused. A bit concerned, sorry. Yeah. I'd be surprised if the exact same starting 11 is the exact same one as against Fulham. There's only a couple of days in between. You know what I mean? There's literally a couple. There's two. So I think an eye has to be on that game to a degree, and I think there's no issue with bringing on Doku or bringing on Shirky as impact players if you need to do so, because I think that's the way to look at it as well. And we saw that more so against Leverkusen, less so against Newcastle. This may be the final thing I want to say because we've been over 90 minutes now. If you need to bring on a player from the bench and you need a goal, generally speaking, if you're City and you're in that situation, then you are up against a team that's playing low block football. So that means that in an ideal world, you have, if you want to change the game, you have at least one player on the bench who you can bring on who is going to thrive against a team who's just defending. Now, we obviously did that against Leverkusen, and we were better in the second half. Ultimately, we couldn't get the goal. It was too little, too late. But if you start all of Shirky, Doku, Foden, then you're not giving yourself much wiggle room to bring... And let's say that 60th minute, 0-0. Is Marmoush coming on going to be the one to break the low block? Necessarily? That's not really the strongest point of his game, is it? He's far more of a transitional player who prefers the spaces. If there's less space, is that the player? Savio can do that to a degree, but even he operates better when there's a good amount of space. So I wonder if it is better to start at least one of them, and then you can bring on one or two of Doku, Shirky to then impact the game. And I think that might be where I'm going to argue my predicted starting 11 from. Because we saw against Newcastle, when they went to a low block and Pep wanted to make changes to freshen things up or whatever, he was bringing on players who weren't naturally suited to take on that game state. He was taking off all the players who were suited for it. He was taking off Foden, Shirky, Doku, and he was bringing on Marmoush, Savio, Bob, I think. And to be fair, Bob can be that, but it's not ideal, is it? So that might be how I'm approaching that. Bogle is a Leeds fullback. He used to play for Sheffield United. I think he used to be a centre-back back in the day for Sheffield United. I remember he was the most attractive Sheffield United player in my most attractive footballers tier list. Big up to that video if you remember that. Throwback. Anyway, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I really hope you guys have enjoyed the stream and have got some value out of it. If you did, then you know what to do. Please make sure to leave a like on the video. It's free and it helps support your boy. We are not going to be live tomorrow for the watch-along, because I'll be at the Etihad. We will be live tomorrow for the post-mortem, and we will be uploading a video later today, tactical preview of Leeds versus Man City, where I go into a bit more detail on what we have covered, re the Leeds section. So get your notification bell on, so you can always stay updated for when that video goes live. Make sure to leave a like on the video on your way out. Have a lovely rest of your day. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your weekend. There's a post-mortem for all the Premier League games and all the Premier League games, and all the big Champions League / Cup games anyway. Not the league phase ones though. They can hold that. We'll have to wait for it to actually get to knockout stages. Anything else to say? I don't think so. I think that's all good. Yeah, cool. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.